In this episode of Vinyl Haul, all of my releases are 2024, spanning speed, thrash, heavy, and death, including the return of a highly respected band following the unfortunate death of their singer. So sit back, relax, and let's chat about some records. First up is the fourth studio album from American black and speed metal band Bewitcher. This is Spellshock, released in 2024 by Century Media Records. So right away, we're getting some more of this band's established sound of black and speed, but mixed with some traditional metal and even hard rock sensibilities. There's certainly some hints of early Venom and Exciter influence here, but it really does tap into the rock side of things more than previous efforts, and that's definitely front and center on even the opening track Starfire Maelstrom, but also continues throughout. I'm feeling the balance between blackened and thrashy is certainly favoring the latter this time around because only the raspy vocals and the devilish lyrics qualify this as blackened. Otherwise, it's really doubling down on the speed and trad metal. I'm even catching some slight moments of the new wave of British heavy metal, notably in those rock parts. Ride of the Iron Fox is a good example of that, but there are others too. There's a certain swing to some of the riffs that brings that Nawabum to mind, not to mention some of the up-tempo bluesy soloing. I keep thinking that some of these solos would also have been right at home on the first Wasp album, if that helps. We even get a brief bit of Western flavor in the short instrumental track Pagan Shadows, which strangely fits with the rest of it. Given all of that, I do want to stress that none of these influences and elements are at the expense of the metal heaviness this band typically delivers, because that's definitely still here. Of course, the lyrics are still steeped in the occult, with such telltale titles as Lavish Desecration and Seasons of Foul Harvest, to name a couple. And we still get some of those gang chorus vocals in a few tracks, which are fun and effective. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, Orange Crush, which is the US exclusive. All right. So we have an insert, pictures of the band, lyrics and credits on the reverse, and this really great gatefold with artwork of the band right there. Love it. As for favorites on this one, definitely Starfire Maelstrom, also Out Against the Law, and We Die in Dust. There are music videos available for Spellshock, Out Against the Law, and Dystopic Demonolatry. You can check all those out at the Century Media Records YouTube channel. So fans of bands like Midnight and Hellraiser would likely dig this band, though. I'd also add that Bewitcher brings in a more rock-oriented and overall more diverse approach on this record than many of the black and speed or black and thrash metal bands seem to offer. Granted, this album is still full throttle and relentless, so don't expect it to be pretty or experimental or whatever those fancy metal bands are doing these days. And while it certainly lives up to the standards this band has established on previous releases, it's also clear that this is a step up in terms of production and variety in songwriting, so if you like the last album, you're likely going to dig this one as well, possibly even more. Also, thanks to my pal Eric for buying me this record at the merch table when he saw them live this year. Would have bought it anyways, but he beat me to it, so thank you, Eric. Next up is the fifth studio album from American power thrash band Nasty Savage. This is Jeopardy Room, released in 2024 by FHM Records. So after 20 years, this band returns with another full-length release, though none of the original 80s lineup is here, save for Nasty Ronnie on vocals. Of course, that may or may not matter depending on how you feel about this album. Now, how do I feel about it? Well, let's talk about that. Anyways, after the spacey, creepy intro of less than a minute, we get thrown headlong into the title track, and you gotta say it right away, Nasty Ronnie sounds exactly the same, as if his younger 80s self jumped in a time machine and rejoined us in 2024. Well, more or less because we're not getting those high-pitched falsettos of old, with Ronnie now favoring his lower register, an overall meaner and darker tone from back then. And there will be some nostalgia throughout, as not only does the band revisit past musical phases of their own career, but I'm also getting some second wave of thrash metal in parts. Think classic Forbidden, among others. Of course, in addition to the usual trad and thrash we've gotten from Nasty Savage throughout the classic era, there are also signature prog moments, no shortage of those to be sure. Also tons of riffs, lots of crunch, speed, and man, those lead trade-offs between Sykes and Ormond really elevate the tracks. Lots of gang choruses throughout as well, which adds some serious punch. And some amazing bass work, especially in the sixth finger, which showcases the hell out of that. And even the song titles here are classic Nasty Savage. I mean, Aztec Elegance, anyone? Love it. Aside from that, I do want to point out Witch's Sabbath, which was an old demo song of theirs from 1984 and has been updated on this album. Definitely some strong Merciful Fate vibes here with a creepy organ intro, occult lyrics, and some of the proggy riffing. Additionally, on this track, we get guest appearances from Donald and John Tardy of Obituary, and you can definitely hear John's unmistakable vocal parts alternating well off Ronnie's. Really adds to the track. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, Classic Black. It is limited to 250 numbered copies. There you go. You can find that on the hype sticker on the plastic. I hung on to mine. Mine was 246. Also, we get an insert, requisite band collage, of course, with lyrics and credits on the reverse. As for favorites on this one, definitely Southern Fried Homicide, as well as Witch's Sabbath and Aztec Elegance. But also the album closer, Sainted Devil, well worth hearing, and it works well as an ending track. You also get lyric videos available for Schizoid Platform and Witch's Sabbath. You can watch both of those at the FHM Records YouTube channel. So we've got that classic trad, thrash, prog thing from Nasty Savage, but also some incredible lead work, a couple stellar guest appearances, and some decent variety in tracks. Classic fans will definitely dig this record, although folks expecting something a little more groundbreaking might not. But seeing as I'm not that second guy, I'm really digging this record for what it is, and curious to hear a follow-up album with this lineup. Preferably not in 2044. Next is the 10th studio album from Swedish heavy doom metal band Grand Magus. This is Sunraven, released in 2024 by Nuclear Blast Records. So a galloping riff passage takes us through the opening track Skybound. It's a strong opener, reminding me of this band's bluesy Sabbath meets Judas Priest riff style, but also keeping an epic feel to the heavy doom proceedings. A lot of gallop riffing throughout, but so well accompanied by JB's soaring and soulful vocals. As the cover might suggest, this is music you can absolutely imagine as the soundtrack for a Viking invasion with swords and axes held high. Also, the solo work here often keeps in that equally heavy and ponderous vein, at times sweeping, crunchy, and again epic. One thing I'm catching that might seem a little strange is that some of the vocal melodies here, especially the choruses, are not too dissimilar from some of the more aggressive lines of classic-era Soundgarden, though the comparisons between the two bands abruptly stop there because this isn't that. JB's deeper vocals, though, have some tonal similarities to Dave Windorf of Monster Magnet. Again, perhaps another odd comparison, but it's what comes to mind for me. In any case, JB's overall vocals have a resonance, power, and soul to them that are a real sell point for this particular band. Also, this is a concept album based on the story of Beowulf, so in other words, material right for this band's picking if you're already keen on their usual lyrical content. Again, look at the cover. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, gold. Also, cool gatefold with full lyrics and picture of the band. As for favorites, definitely The Wheel of Pain, great song, also Sunraven and Hour of the Wolf. But also check out the final song, aptly named The End Belongs to You. Crushing chorus on that one. Music videos are available for Skybound as well as Sunraven. You can check those out at the Nuclear Blast Records YouTube channel. So nice to hear this band come back from a 5-year recorded hiatus, and in some respects a bit of return to form with strong vibes of their material going back to The Hunt from 2012. Some strong songwriting is here as well, and leads me to believe that this is an overall improvement on their previous record, Wolf God, which I already liked quite a bit since I first covered it on the show. Anyways, yeah, check this one out. Next is a second studio album from American melodic death doom band Mother of Graves. This is The Periapt of Absence, released in 2024 by Profound Lore Records. And speaking of which, this is the band's first album on this label, having released their already amazing debut Where the Shadows Adorn independently in 2022. So congrats to them for getting signed to Profound Lore. Definitely well deserved. So, straight out the gate, a slow and melodic doom riff with equally slow drumming starts things off with the track Gallows, leading to death vocals, an increase in tempo, and some acoustic work. First way back in the mix, and then isolated as its own passage. Though you'll often get transitions here from crushing doom or melodic death to segments of moody guitars, keys, and/or strings, not too dissimilar from bands such as Catatonia and Paradise Lost. A good example of those calmer but atmospheric acoustic moments can be found in A Scarlet Threnody. Great track. Overall, the back and forth is handled pretty well here and conveys a lot of shifting emotions throughout. Anger and grief at the fore, but also melancholy and regret, resulting in a flow that seems more effective than on their previous record. This album also feels bigger than that last one, some of that probably because of the production, but likely also the performance and the songwriting. Very cool. Anyways, vinyl variant here is 1 LP, dark green/cream colored mix, limited to 200 copies. Also different on the reverse. Love when that happens. Very nice. You also get an inner sleeve with full lyrics, continuation of the lyrics on the reverse, as well as credits, and this really cool photo. It's by Hillary Jason, a person I actually know. She's from my old home city of Worcester, Massachusetts, where I more or less grew up. Really awesome to see her work here. And you should definitely check out more of her photos online. Believe me, she's everywhere. Anyways, favorites on this one include Shatter the Visage, As the Earth Fell Silent, and Like Darkness to a Dying Flame. Check all three of those out. Also, music video is available for Shatter the Visage and an audio clip for Upon Burdened Hands. You can check those out at the Profound Lore Records YouTube channel. So I honestly didn't think it would happen, but somehow Mother of Graves managed to actually surpass their amazing first album with this one, retaining the tone and emotion of that former release, but ramping up the production, the mood, and the song quality to new heights, or if you prefer, new depths. This is definitely melodic death doom done right. Next up is the 15th studio album from American power thrash metal band Flotsam and Jetsam. This is I Am the Weapon, released in 2024 by AFM Records. So things start off with a new kind of hero with slamming drums, relentless riffing, and of course the killer vocals of Eric A.K. that just won't let up for the entirety of this record. Plenty of grit and power in his voice to match even this band's classic era offerings. And is it my imagination, or are Eric's vocals actually more aggressive and in your face now than back in the old days? Yeah, pretty sure I'm right on that one. Anyways, the band still maintains their ability to balance speed and thrash with a strong trad metal bass, full of heaviness and catchiness throughout. I'm especially hearing catchy choruses. In fact, nearly every track is one that you simply can't get out of your head. And having recently taken a look at the AFM Records website and the other bands on that label, I think it's safe to say that no one on their roster even touches Flots. At all. So AFM, don't be dumb. Hang on to this band. Of course, the guitar work needs to be mentioned because Gilbert and Conley are a shredding force to be reckoned with here, and one of the chief reasons why many of these tracks are so headbangable. Plenty of cool speed runs and classic power riffing, as well as melodic accents dropped in when they're needed and without overdoing it. Again, this is a band that knows a whole lot about balance. Drumming is also pretty non-stop with some amazing fills, double bass work, and some serious variety overall. Bass is pretty great as well, when you can hear it, of course. It has a particular prominence in the song Running Through the Fire, but on other tracks as well. Of course, there are a few moments where the band deviates from this band's otherwise established sound, such as on Beneath the Shadows, which is a sort of groove-laden and almost hard rock vibe in that track, but still keeps things metal for the most part. Cold Steel Lights has a brief, almost ballad segment, then jumps back to the speed metal. Likewise in Running Through the Fire. Though neither breaks any sort of flow, and they transition in and out nicely in both cases, so no worries there. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1 LP, orange. It is limited to 250 copies. All right. Let's have a gatefold, full lyrics, credits. Good picture of the band right down there for you. Very nice. Favorites on this one are definitely A New Kind of Hero, great song, also I Am the Weapon, and the darkly power metal album ender Black Wings. Really interesting song, you should check that one out as well. Music videos are available for Primal and A New Kind of Hero, as well as a lyric video for the title track. You can watch those all at the AFM Records YouTube channel. So we've been fortunate to have this run of really great Flots albums in recent years, notably this and the 2 or 3 before it. And I'm reminded that I would have liked a band like Metal Church to also experience this type of late career resurgence. And I mean that specifically in the musical sense. But that band had its own set of problems, including the loss of not only one, but 2 great singers, so I realized it wasn't meant to be. But for this legacy band, it's clear that Flotsam and Jetsam can still go the distance in terms of aggression, songwriting, and overall metal relevance. So it seems that run of great modern albums has yet to end, which is why I am absolutely recommending this one. And really, if you gave up on Flotsam in the 1990s, you seriously need to come back to this band. Next is the 10th studio album from American melodic death metal band the Black Dahlia Murder. This is Servitude, released in 2024 by Metal Blade Records. So let's get to the elephant in the room right away. Likely, the biggest concern before even hearing this album is if it will in any way suffer without the presence of their late singer Trevor Sturnad, who tragically died in 2022. But as the old Motley Crue song goes, you must go on with the show, and so they have when guitarist Brian Eschbach dropped his instrument and solely took over the vocal duties left behind. Likewise, lyric writing is now handled by Brian. Brian's guitar slot has now been filled by former and now reunited Black Dahlia Murder guitarist Ryan Knight, who was absent in the band as of 2016 but came back in 2022 following Trevor's death. So that's where the band is, lineup-wise. But how about the music? Well, the album opens with Evening Ephemeral, which is a haunting passage of sad piano keys slowly struck. This quickly gets interrupted by the pure mayhem of blasty drums, off-kilter riffing, and the screamy, growly assault of Eschbach. And right away, while this definitely sounds like a Black Dahlia Murder album, Eschbach is not imitating Trevor Sturnad here. The vocals cover some familiar terrain, to be honest, but the journey is all his own. Plenty of breakneck speed throughout the record, with the occasional dropping in of unexpected shifts in melody, which is to say that if you're a fan of this band, you expect the unexpected from them. And no, that's not a contradiction, it's a paradox. Anyway, some of those shifts involve dips into melodic guitar solos and runs from Ellis, and once again from Knight, who also play very well off each other, with the prime example being the final track, Utopia Black. Naturally, the overall playing is tight and technical, but unlike the past album, it seems like there's a bit more grit to the production sound, maybe intentional, or maybe some of the members shifting in the current lineup, maybe both. You decide, I suppose. And of course, like before, there's a wealth of Swede death influence here, and also occasionally some Carcass creeps in from time to time, which I dig. And I definitely also dig the bookending of the piano passage from the beginning of the record to finish things off. And speaking of dropping in, we get a brief acoustic instrumental called an intermission. And by brief, I mean 28 seconds. Again, in theme with this band and their penchant for unexpected musical moments. Anyways, vinyl variant on this one is 1LP Electromagnetic, also known as Blue Smoke. It is limited to 500 copies. Let's get an insert with some nice additional artwork, as well as, let's pull that upside. There we go. That's better. Also, lyrics and credits on the reverse. Favorites on this one, of course, Evening Ephemeral, great way to open the record. Also, Aftermath and Mammoth's Hand. But if I'm pressed to pick just one, I'd probably say Mammoth's Hand first, and then check out the other 2. Music videos are available for Panic Hysteric, Aftermath, Mammoth's Hand, and Utopia Black. You can find those all at the Metal Blade Records YouTube channel. So after hearing this record more than once, it's clear that although the loss of their former singer is both senseless and a bit sad, the Black Dahlia Murder manages to succeed in his absence. The album is tight, it's packed with memorable tracks, and at almost 33 minutes, it does its job and then exits proudly. And if there is an afterlife, I would hope a certain someone would be proud of it too, because it's a really great record. Rest in peace, Trevor Sturnad. So a couple things worth mentioning here. Next month will be my standard metal vinyl haul. I mean, I know there have been some Decembers where I've covered my non-metal vinyl buys for the year, but I have enough leftover metal to cover next month pretty well. Mostly stragglers currently stuck in the postal mail system that are taking forever to get here. So definitely come back for that. Should be a good time. Also, late December is when I post my top 10 metal albums of the year video. I'll be doing that again for 2024, covering not only my top 10, but my honorable mentions, and some albums that others might put on their list, but I did not. but are still worth mentioning. So, yet another reason to return to my channel next month. So do it. Anyways, before all of that, I'd definitely like to know what you got for records this time around. Let me know what you got, what you might get, or whatever looks good on the streaming services you listen to. Tell me that and anything else that makes sense in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. Of course, if you've never been to my channel before, my name is Matt. This is the Accusation Network, where each and every week we do videos on metal vinyl collecting, but also classic and modern metal in general. If you liked what you saw in this video, definitely give it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. And of course, I always appreciate it when people share out my videos with their friends on social media. Anyways, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.